Hello everyone, I'm Lata from BBA Semester 6 and today I'm here for my project management presentation. So the topic of my presentation is identification of critical path of the project with the help of PERT and CPM. So let's begin. So what is critical path? In project management, a critical path is a sequence of project network activities which add up to the longest overall duration, regardless if that longest duration has float or not. This determines the shortest time possible to complete the project. Now, why should a project manager should know about the critical path? It is important for project managers to know since any problems that occur on the critical path can prevent a project from moving forward and be delayed. Now, what is PERT? PERT stands for Program Evaluation and Review Technique. It is a method used to examine the tasks that are in schedule and determine a variation of critical path method. It analyzes the time required to complete each task and its associated dependencies to determine the minimum time to complete a project. Now, PERT helps project planners to identify start and end dates, anticipated total required completion time, all activities referred to as events on the chart that impact the completion time, the required sequence of events, and the probability of completion by a certain date. Now, what is critical path method? The critical path method or CPM or critical path analysis CPA is an algorithm for scheduling a set of project activities. It is commonly used in conjunctions with the program evaluation and review technique that we call PERT. A critical path is determined by identifying the longest stretch of dependent activities and measuring the time it is required to complete them from start to finish. Now, what are the key steps in critical path method? Step 1 is activity specification. In activity specification, only the higher level activities are selected for critical path method. Now, step 2 is activity sequence establishment. In this step, the correct activity sequence is established. For that, you need to ask 3 questions for each task of your list. The first question is which task should be placed before this task happens? Which task should be completed at the same time as this task? And the third one is which task should happen immediately after this task? Now, step third is network diagram. Once the activity sequence is correctly identified, the network diagram can be drawn. Step 4 is estimation for each activity. This could be direct input from the WBS based estimation sheet. You can use such estimation information from this step of the process. Now, the fifth and most important step is identification of the critical path. To identify the critical path, you need to determine 4 parameters of each activity of the network. The first one is earliest start time. The earliest time in an activity can start once the previous dependent activities are over. Then the earliest finish time. You can find it by adding earliest start time with activity duration. Then next, latest finish time. The latest finish time is the latest time an activity can finish without delaying of the project. Now, latest start time. Latest start time can be found out by subtracting activity duration from latest finish time. The float time for an activity is the time between the earliest start time and the latest start time. Start or between the earliest finish time and the latest finish times. During the float time, an activity can be delayed without delaying the project finish date. The critical path is the longest path of the network diagram. The activities in the critical path have an effect on the deadline of the project. In case of the project management, it needs to accelerate the project. The times for critical path activities should be reduced. Now, step 6 is critical path diagram to show project progress. Critical path diagram is a life artifact. Therefore, this diagram should be updated with actual values once the task is completed. Now, how CPA helps project manager? A project manager developed and tests their plan to ensure that it is robust. It also identifies which tasks can be delayed, and CPA also helps to identify the minimum length of time needed to complete a project. How PERT helps project manager? The project program evaluation and review technique is advantageous to project manager as it not only helps them stay organized but helps them identify critical components of the project, estimates the project duration, and help identify slack times, giving the project manager a clear picture of where the project is at any given time. Thank you.